Doing well today. I'm just to quickly adjust the lighting, so I apologize if there's a bit of a disturbance here. But yeah, I mean, today, obviously, the big news is going to be around Watkins. I think we know Focal might have some Watkins news. I'm not sure whether we actually have that news yet. I've quickly checked Focal's stream. Doesn't seem like we've got the Watkins update that we're looking for, but that seems to be the situation right now as well when it comes down to Watkins today. And then actually in terms of my own team, obviously that does play a huge role, right? Because either I'm going Zinchenko or I will be going for Watkins to Darwin. So that is going to be my sort of moves there. Good to see you guys on this sort of afternoon finally. Nice to stream a little bit later. Got to sleep in quite a bit. I also missed actually, and that's why actually I didn't do any moves between, let's say, Watkins and Darwin, because I know last night he was very, very close to dropping and Darwin so close to rising, but seems like actually we've made it through scot-free. So we'll see what happens in terms of news. Just quickly looking at chat, of course. Let's see. So we've got some questions already, but I'll also shout out to a couple people who are in the chat early. Hello, Vin. Hello, Luis. Hello, Nicolo. Hi, Kevin. Hey, Blue. Hey, Lucas. Nice to see you all. Same with JP as well, and my man Dobber as well, long-time viewer. So questions are, any news on Watkins? As I said, I don't have news on Watkins. I do think Eze to Mbumo is very, very good for a -4 because the news about Eze doesn't seem to be very positive. So you have to sort of look at it from that point of view. Because we don't have any expectations for Eze to play, I would tend to think, of course, taking that -4 is great because this Mbumo game is so good, right? And yeah, moving on quickly. So Mr. Paul says Watkins will not play 90 minutes. I think that's a fair point, you know, but another question is, you know, if Watkins, let's say, plays 60, 70 minutes, is that good enough to say we don't need to move into Darwin? Because the thing about Watkins is not only just this week and obviously the really tough City and Arsenal fixture, it's actually the fact that he's a really good captaincy on Gameweek 18. And so when I sort of look at it in terms of fixtures, Watkins, for me, that game week 18 is so important. And when you double that up, the value of that when it comes to FPL points, you know, projecting that, that is quite interesting as to whether I go out of Watkins or not. Now, if Watkins also drops in price, now that's also going to add into my considerations. And it's very likely that Watkins will drop tonight and Darwin will rise. So that's another sort of decision that I'll have to make on the live stream over the course of the next 1 hour and 30 minutes. Thank you, Dobber. JP says, thoughts on Kudus and Doku. So what I like about Doku, of course, is I do think slowly he's taking away more Grealish minutes than we could have ever expected. He's playing that well. The concern, I suppose, with Doku, of course, is your team, you know, strong enough to sort of deal with blank game week 18 if you move into Doku? And then the question on Kudus, I would say, is great fixture here for Crystal Palace at home. But I am a little bit concerned about overall the next two fixtures being away fixtures, and you know, there are some other picks, of course, that are at cheaper prices who are penalty takers as well and have good underlying stats that might be a little bit more interesting than Kudus right now, even though I think Kudus in isolation is a great pick. So those are the only things I'd say about those players and those price points. As far as Ultimate Draft Soccer, he says, is it worth it? Bowen for Mbumo, Watkins for Nunez. And I think that -4 is amazing. Honestly, I genuinely think that -4 is fantastic. So I would definitely go for that one. Luis Silva says, yeah, hey to you as well. Question from Lucas was Eze plus Watkins to Mbuma plus Isaac for a -4 hit, or Eze to Gordon. Personally, I kind of like the hit, right? Just because I think Mbeumo is probably one of the best picks for this week. So he already trumps Gordon from that aspect. And then obviously if Watkins is out, and we need to wait for Watkins to be out or not, then that Isaac move is going to be fantastic. Watkins out Darwin, and that's probably one of the moves that I'm thinking about NBA right now. Why Haaland captain over Salah? I think it comes down to Spurs being horrible. So one thing we like to talk about in FPL is our expectations for teams change. And at the start of the season, you probably wouldn't have heard me saying that Spurs are a bottom half defense, but the reality is they are a bottom half defense, and they're more so a bottom half defense when they have Romero playing and when they also have Davies lined up with him. I'm just thinking about the chances from the Aston Villa game, thinking about the chances that they've given overall this season. Their expectations put them firmly in the bottom half, and I think the fact that Romero and obviously Van de Ven is out puts them even more comfortably, you know, as a bottom half team, even towards that sort of lower quartile. And for that reason, I think it makes a lot of sense to actually think about a Haaland captaincy. If I'm just thinking, you know, from a grass point of view, like, you know, football is played on grass. Look, Watkins had great aerial chances versus two fullbacks who are playing central defense. I think those are great chances for Haaland on the back post, things like that. As far as Salah, of course, look, he's got a great fixture. He's on penalties once again. So is Haaland. But yeah, I think when you actually look at how poor the Spurs' expectations have dropped as of late, I do think that sort of slightly edges Haaland. Whereas previously, maybe a few weeks ago, if you asked me the same question, I would have said that this was obviously a Salah captaincy. Hey, gang, nice to see you around Inner Castle. Darwin or Isaac? I prefer Darwin, but obviously I think one thing about Isaac, of course, is penalties. But another thing to be concerned about with Newcastle is Isaac just came back from injury. His minutes should be managed, right? So there might be times where, for example, even in this fixture here, Isaac might have to be taken off at 70 minutes and Gordon comes in, plays central forward, right? Whereas, let's say if we talk about maybe Isaac once again on the Tottenham fixture, that might be the same reality because they need to rest. This entire Newcastle team needs to send out the A team versus AC Milan, right? That game is so important for their Champions League. It's probably right now the most important game of their season. So when I think about minutes and projecting into the future, I think obviously Darwin might be benched, versus Sheffield United, but I think Isaac's minutes aren't particularly great either. And then when I actually look at the fixtures, Liverpool versus Newcastle, I think the next three do favor Darwin anyways. Who should be here for a sub? I think Taylor, definitely. I would actually generally consider playing Taylor. Konate, nice to see you doing well. How many points does Pinup finish on? 12 or 15? A little bit ambitious, my friend. But hopefully he gets a bullet header. Hopefully he gets a clean sheet. And I hope he does you well. But yeah, I think Pinnock obviously is one of the best picks in terms of defenders this week. Marco says, any news on Bone? I don't have news on Bone. Neither do I have news on Watkins, but it doesn't seem like we actually have any news on both players yet from confirmed sources or leaks that we think are authoritative. So right now, I don't know. And Mbeumo captain for me is probably the third best. 107, only 2 likes. Oh, great point there from Dobber. 130 of you guys in the chat. If you guys could like and subscribe, that would be absolutely lovely. So I appreciate you guys for being around here as well. The live stream growth has been fantastic over the last few weeks too, and over the course of the season. So once again, I really appreciate you guys and your support. It's really nice to see you guys in chat. People asking Taylor versus Guehi. I would definitely play Taylor over Guehi. Bench Diaby or Isaac. I'd definitely bench Diaby. Trippier in for Cash, Palmer in for Bowen. I think those are good moves. Yeah, I like that. Probably not for a hit. I can definitely check the private chat right now. Yep. Henry, so your team... I thought you had Pinnock a few weeks ago, Henry. What happened to that? I think your team looks good. I think I would generally consider... Taylor's actually a fantastic bench option that you have this week. So I think, the best thing that you need to do, and the only thing that you need to do, in my opinion, is you probably just need to either take out Watkins or Bowen, right? And probably Bowen for Mbeumo is something that I prefer over Watkins to Darwin or Watkins to Isaac. So what I would probably do in your situation is... I would go from Bowen to Mbeumo, and then I would probably just keep Watkins in your team. Another thing I would actually consider is actually benching Cash for Taylor. For a -4, I mean, are you thinking about Darwin? I'd probably do that as well if you want to. But that I would only do that -4 if we got 100%, for example, confirmed news that Watkins is out. I'm not sure if, for a hit that it would be worthwhile. Am I locked in? Absolutely not locked in. Waiting for Watkins news. Otherwise, I'm going to exercise my free transfer. Cash, Dallo, or Taylor, which to bench? I think either you bench Cash or Dallo, personally. I'm not sure if Dallo will start. I think there's a pretty high chance that Dallo will start, given that Wan-Bissaka played in the midweek. Who would be my goalkeeper pair? I would actually probably just go... The thing is, what I don't like about Kelleher, right, is because we don't know if Watkins is fit. I'm probably going to be going Darwin on my team if I was going on a wild card. So my concern there, and sorry, I've actually spilled some coffee. What a huge mistake. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so now that the coffee situation has been amended, let's just say in terms of the goalkeeper pair, I personally just like going Areola plus, a dead spot keeper. I think that's the best option. And then the second best option, I think, is Sanchez Areola. And then probably the third best option is if you, let's say, don't want to go Darwin for whatever reason, or you don't want to go Salah. Let's say you drop Salah, then I think I would just go Raya Kelleher, right? Because that option for me, I don't like it because it blocks triple Liverpool, but I do like it in terms of, for example, when you think about the tough Arsenal fixture in terms of Aston Villa, Kelleher still has a good game, right? So something to think about. Fran, one of the best FPL content delivers out there. I appreciate that, Eston. Really, thank you so much for saying that. Cash or Mitchell? I'd probably play Cash for a little bit of the attacking upside. Ultimately, both teams are away from home, so I think the chances of a clean sheet aren't, astoundingly good. And the one concern, I suppose, is do you think that Cash could be benched, right? Because Cash did play in the midweek. He played effectively the full game. So there's a high chance that I think Cash could drop in terms of his place in the team for this week. So one question you might want to ask yourself, what's the best replacement for Jota? I mean, you could go Luis Diaz. You could also just simply downgrade. First of all, I would say the best option for me this week is Mbumo. Then you can also consider, what are the benefits to cost saving in your team, right? So if you drop to someone like Palmer, that could save you a lot of money. That could be the ideal situation for you. Is Darwin better or Isaac? I would actually prefer Darwin personally. And the reason why I say that is because I plan on still going from Darwin to Watkins. Ben C, hope you're doing well. My week was good. Very, very stressful from the work point of view. But FPL transfers hasn't really been too tough to handle, right? We took a -10 last week. No, I'm kidding, obviously. But the -10 obviously was the impact of my free transfers last week with Gordon. But, looking onwards and upwards. What do you think about Virgil potential? I think Virgil's fantastic. But of course, one thing I don't like about Virgil is he is a little bit overpriced in my opinion. Obviously, he's one of the best set piece threats in the world. That's definitely a reality. But I think when you think about, let's say, quality Liverpool defense with, let's say, for example, Kelleher in the team, I can't afford Saliba, by the way, Joseph. That's why I'm considering Zinchenko. If I could actually afford Saliba, I would definitely go Saliba. So I hope that sort of answers some of the people's questions as well. Diaby to Kudus. I don't think that... I would still probably just keep Diaby in this situation, because what I don't like about Kudus, I think, fixture-wise, is you still have 2 away fixtures after this. And I think this is the time to probably downgrade from Diaby, if that makes sense. So save yourself a bit of money and look for upgrades in other positions. I'm definitely not planning on taking a hit, Soldier Boy. Captain Haaland, yep, that's correct. I have explained Captain Haaland previously. And I do think Zinchenko is risky, by the way, going back to Zinchenko. But the idea about Zinchenko in my team is that I plan on taking Zinchenko out of my team in 2 weeks. So because I already own Gabriel, I'm thinking that Gabriel is going to be my long-term holding option. And so with Zinchenko, what the idea is here is that I play him for Wolves, play him for Luton. And then on Gameweek 16, we have many, many transfer pivot options, right? We've got James, we have Walker, we have potentially finally confirmed news on Botman, which we seemingly have not had in 3 weeks' time. So hopefully in Game Week 16 or 17, I get news on Botman and I can actually play around that. Roshan says, what I like in your videos are they are on point, no extra rubbish datas. Look, I will only share data that I think is useful. There are a lot of stats out there that are completely useless and a lot of stats out there that don't tell us anything. So yeah, what we're looking for are clean sheets, assists, and goals in FPL. I'm about to get crushed without Darwin. Why are you being so rude to me, man? I'm pretty sure people own Darwin since Game Week 10, and I haven't been crushed since, but let me know when Darwin starts crushing people. Also, Darwin is actually one of my potential transfers today. Okay, so Porro or Mitchell start? Definitely Mitchell. I mean, Porro would be the back on my bench today, just like he is on my bench. I don't have any news on Watkins in terms of what to do. I would just not take a hit for Watkins because I think Watkins is 100% my Game Week 18 captaincy. And I'm waiting for Focal to drop Watkins news. Gordon for Mbumo. I think that's a great upgrade. Makes sense to me. And Kedia, I mean, he could get minutes today, but I really don't think Nketiah is the one. Captain Mbumo. By the way, just to advertise membership as well. So if you're a member, you'll always get access to private chat me one-on-one. If you need, for example, any advice in terms of your team selection, things like that, you can always reach out to me as a member. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You also get access to one of these sort of private videos that I've made for members as well. And it's just a way to financially support me as well. Nothing too exceptional, but I really appreciate all the members, of course, who's been supporting me thus far. As far as Gordon versus Palmer, I still think Palmer makes sense because, first of all, Penalty taker. Underlying stats, still very good for Palmer with exception to penalties. Yes, of course, open play-wise, what we've seen so far is Gordon has been astoundingly good. Palmer has not really delivered outside of penalties. But I think when we look at underlying stats, and if you have faith in underlying stats, Chelsea's fixtures are getting better. So you'd expect for Palmer to actually deliver an open play soon. And also, he's a cost saving compared to Gordon, which is why obviously I went from Gordon to Palmer last week. But obviously, it did not end up going well. Roshan says he'll back Watkins to score. I think one thing to say, of course, is away versus home, right? Aston Villa have firmly become a top 4, top 5 offense, and they are playing at home, which is a great point that you're making, Roshan. So 100%, I would agree with that. I can have a look at Discord in a moment, but I'm only really looking at the Discord private chat for now, and then YouTube chat for the time being, because the YouTube chat is still buzzing, absolutely. Archer or Watkins? I'd still play Watkins first, because the way I see it is either Watkins will play or not play. I think it doesn't make sense to, like, if you think about it from Unai Emery's point of view, why would he risk Watkins as a bench, right? So either Watkins will start for me, which I think is obviously already better than Archer, or he just won't be in the squad, at which point you'll get Archer anyways. So that's the way I see it, particularly if a player has an injury. Zakuma says, on his wildcard, his defense is Gabriel, Simicast, Lascelles, Pau. Who to get for 51? I think Taylor makes sense. Just go Taylor. On your wildcard, though, I would generally consider having 4 defenders at least, as opposed to 3 defenders, because you can't play Pau for the next few weeks. And yes, of course, Lascelles is nice, but he is going to be playing away for the next 2 weeks. And actually, I think Pedro Porro is definitely an option that I would think about on the wildcard. Is Jackson an option? I think Jackson is probably not an option. By the way, has anyone seen the Nicholas Jackson news? I won't talk about it because obviously it's some 18 plus stuff, but yeah, okay, I won't talk more about Nicholas Jackson. But I think the concern about Jackson, honestly, is Nkunku should be coming back soon in the future. And sorry, yeah, I was just thinking about the Jackson thing. But okay, but Nkunku will probably come in and take some minutes away from Jackson, which is my concern. And that's why I don't think Jackson makes a lot of sense as a transfer in. He's also not on penalty, so I would prefer Isaac. I would prefer Darwin over. I mean, Darwin just had a kid last week, and that's mental to me. But seems like a little bit of the chat have seen it. He requires motivation. Start Porro for attacking threat. Absolutely not. I think you have to look at the way Tottenham defend, right? Aston Villa were pretty unfortunate to only score 2 goals. I think City, at home, by the way, will probably score 3 goals. That's my opinion. So I really think that for Porro this week, I can't see the upside. If you're 18 and above, I would suggest searching Nicholas Jackson on Twitter. But if you're not 18 and above, please do not. Do yourself a favor and forget about this discussion. What is your opinion on the Darwin-Isaac debate? So I think actually one thing that people always like to talk about with Darwin, right, is that Darwin's minutes sometimes can be bad. So for example, because there's a very, very short time span between game weeks 14, 15, and 16 for this Liverpool team, a lot of people are thinking that he'll be benched for Sheffield United. One thing I want to say, though, is that if you think about the way that Newcastle are playing and prioritizing fixtures, the most important game of their season is going to be versus AC Milan, right? So that Tottenham game, maybe Isaac will actually have less minutes. And also this week, this fixture here, because Isaac also played the full 90 minutes versus PSG, it might be the case that, of course, he doesn't play the full game as well, because his minutes sort of need to be managed. So if you think about it, I like to think, obviously, playing 90 minutes in the previous game versus who are they playing? PSG, right? So he plays PSG. Maybe he plays 70 minutes this fixture. The next one maybe 90, and then 70 minutes again. So his minutes could also be hampered from that point of view. As far as Darwin, his minutes could obviously be bad for Sheffield United, but keep in mind that they don't have any priorities in terms of playing for the Europa League game that they have. So actually, Liverpool don't care. And if you think that Darwin's first choice, which I do, then I think Darwin's minutes are very, very level with Isaac. And then obviously underlying stats very similar, but Isaac also small sample size this season, so don't think that he's actually on Darwin's level in terms of chance creation. In terms of in my opinion. On top of that, of course, Darwin's slightly more creative than Isaac, but Isaac is on penalties. That's a huge difference between Darwin as well. What I would say, though, is Liverpool's fixtures are better, and for that reason, I think I would take Darwin over Isaac for now. Do I think Watkins will start? I can't confirm that. I'm actually waiting for news on whether Watkins was training today, and we'll make that decision. Would I play Cash or Colwill? I'm playing Colwill over Cash. So actually, if I scroll down to the back of my bench, you can see now that I've actually benched Colwill for the time being. So I hope that sort of informs your decision as well. How's my day going? Thank you for asking that question, Renzo. My day's going well. I hope your day's going equally well too. And yeah, Bowen to Saka for -4. I think that's a good... look, sometimes you have to take hits, and sometimes when the hit is for someone like Saka, I think it's worth it. Jackson won't play. He's been told. All right, no more Jackson talk in this chat. Is this worth to get Palmer plus Mbumo? I don't think that -8 is worth it. Personally, I think it's great that you've got. I mean, you've got so many issues in your team. Eze, Bowen, Watkins. I think maybe you can actually take a -4 instead. I would probably focus on taking out. I would focus on taking out Eze and Bowen for a -4. Excuse me, -4, and I'd probably just keep Watkins. If Watkins doesn't start, is it worth -4? I don't think it's worth -4, personally. Because I think we still have Archer, for example. Bowen or Diaby out for Mbumo. I'd probably go Bowen, because I'm not sure about Bowen's fitness right now. -4 for Cash to Zinchenko. I don't think that's worthwhile. -4 Watkins to Darwin now, so you can go Porro next week. I think if you're sort of, if it's a price issue, if your team can't afford Porro otherwise, then go for it. I might bring in Darwin in. I probably might be thinking about it, so I will be checking it out. I can check Discord briefly. Let's see. I mean, Bar's team on Discord, 2 free transfers. I'd probably go Eze to Mbumo in your situation, and I'd probably go Watkins to Darwin. Call it a day there. Your team actually looks really good, by the way. Yeah, well done. And then Uday's team, I think Hee-Chan's worth keeping. I'd probably go out of Ward-Prowse to Mbumo, and I think that's it. Just Ward-Prowse to Mbumo is the only thing I would do there. Alfred as well, asking the same question. What I'd probably do is, yeah, I think the -4 hit makes sense. Otherwise, obviously, I'd prioritize probably taking Bowen out. Thoughts on Elanga and Saka in for Bowen and Diaby? I probably wouldn't go Elanga in. I'd probably go Saka in, but I guess, what is Elanga's actual price point is probably one question. I'm going to quickly check. So Elanga is 5.0. It's tough there. I mean, what sort of budget can you actually squeeze in with the Elanga transfer there? Like, can you go Palmer? Because I probably wouldn't say Elanga's worth it. So I'm just quickly looking if we actually have some Watkins news. I don't actually think we have Watkins news yet, do we, guys? So we've got 1 hour left to the deadline. Still doesn't seem like we actually have any Watkins news. So, Apparently, Watkins will start, but training in the morning will confirm. Interesting. Interesting. Is that news? Is that the news? Do we have Watkins news? Can someone else confirm that? Alvarez to Darwin. I think if you're not committed to free at 18, I think that's a good transfer to make, right? Because that actually sets the sort of long-term healthier team up. Don't you believe FPL is getting boring? Most teams right now, it's a little bit boring, I would say, because everyone sort of has the same attacking team. But is it boring? Not really, I think, because think about it. Some people are going Salah captain this week. Some people are going Haaland captain. If your Haaland captaincy pops off and Salah doesn't, that's a huge swing. That's a massive up and down, even though all our teams are the same. So there's captaincy as well, which I think will create a huge swing. And then on top of that, look, everyone has sort of 2 out of 3 of the same defenders, like Gabriel, Tsimikas, or Saliba, right? But that third defender in your team is probably going to be a huge differential as well. And sometimes that's a crazy, crazy change. Who to start, Cash, Anderson, or Udogie? Definitely not Udogie. I'd probably play Cash, then Anderson in that order. love your content. Thank you, Harry. Start Cash or Dingra. I would start a Dingra. I think if João Pedro was if João Pedro was nailed, he'd be one of the best value assets of all time. Not even joking. This is completely unironic. 5.3 million penalty taker for Brighton. If you were telling me that he starts 17 minutes every match, João Pedro would be amazing. I'd probably start João Pedro, honestly. Cash or Taylor? I would actually play Taylor over Cash because I'm not sure if 100% Cash will play. Morning, Gothic Van Life. Thank you so much for the donation. Really appreciate that. You vote Watkins and Diaby. I'd probably bench Diaby. If the news is that apparently Watkins is ready to play, I would actually go for Watkins to start. Does that make sense? So I would bench Diaby in that situation. Eze to Sterling and Watkins to Isaac for -4. Guys, it seems like Watkins is ready to play. If anybody's been watching FPL Focal stream, can you please confirm the same if possible? Hopefully we have 1 minute left. But it actually seems like Watkins is going to start tomorrow, as far as I understand. But apparently Focal is still waiting for this morning's training session to culminate, and then we can actually find out. Okay, let's see. If you would start a Dinger over Cash, should I sell one of them? I think if you have Cash, you can sell him to Saliba if possible. Or you can go a Dinger to Palmer. So those are your options. Would you start Cash or Lascelles? I'd probably start Lascelles. Honestly, Newcastle at home. Man United, quite a poor team, if we're honest. Alvarez to Isaac, I think it just depends. Actually, I would go Alvarez to Isaac if you're not going to free at 18. Based on yesterday's update, Focal said Watkins starts. So I guess we're still waiting for today's update. Sorry, guys. Today's update, which hopefully we'll get. Okay, someone actually asked for a wildcard team. So let's actually create a... Let's just quickly build out a wildcard team just for fun. Personally, I think Raya is the one to go for in the wildcard. So let's just say Raya, right? And then maybe we just go into a 3.9 keeper. I don't know. If Watkins actually starts, I'd probably keep Watkins on a wildcard. I'd probably go Tsimikas as well. I'd go Porro. I'd probably not go Colwell, actually. I might try go get Saliba here if I could afford him. And then Cash is Taylor. Actually, I mean, I'm happy with this team because actually we play Gabriel, Saliba, Tsimikas. Yeah, that's fine. Wait, we can't go Raya. Sorry, I'm being silly. I'll probably drop Gabriel, actually. And then... Where do I drop Gabriel? I'll go Raya. $4.5. Maybe I do go Colwell. Maybe I go Pinnock though for this week. If I go Pinnock, what situation does that leave me in? I think if you go Pinnock now, I probably actually have a lot more money in the bank than some other people, right? So I apologize if that's... Maybe you just go Lascelles, I think. What about this? I don't know if I still keep Son. I think I still keep Son, even though it's a bad fixture. But we can also think about going into, Son the week after this. And maybe we can actually go Raya Flecken. I don't know if that's... Is it too crazy? Maybe Johnson as well could be a decent pick. But can we actually bench him this week is my issue. Maybe we actually drop Watkins. And maybe we just go Darwin, I think. Maybe you just go Darwin, and then you drop Kelleher as well, unfortunately. So if we drop Kelleher, maybe we can go Flecken. Because that means that... But I don't know if the double game week is going to happen, I think. Maybe we just go Strakosha, right? Something like that. Strakosha. Can we fit in a Man United... No, I don't think there's any need to have a Man United player. I think this is the best midfield. Maybe we go Alvarez? No, I think we just go Darwin. Can we upgrade the midfield? Probably not. Do we upgrade Taylor? Maybe we don't. Porro's good. You're going to play Tsimikas, Saliba, Taylor this week. You can upgrade Lascelles. Can't go James from Lascelles, though, can you? What if we just risked it and then just went Gabriel? This way we could actually have James on our bench. So if I carry James on my bench, this week I'm playing Simicast, Taylor, Gabriel. I have a pretty strong team. Next week I play Porro, Simicast, Gabriel. Still bench James. But then James is very useful for these fixtures. Everton, Sheffield, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Luton, Fulham. Basically, yeah. And then also, maybe we can even sell Gabriel in the future. Who knows? Maybe you sell Gabriel here. But then also, he's worth keeping for all of this. So I'd probably make a team something like this, maybe. I think Raya is a lovely, lovely option. So I'd probably go with something like this on a wild card. The question, of course, is going to be, how do I get towards Watkins on Gameweek 18? And I think the best way to do that is probably wait for Nkunku news, because we might have Nkunku then. But then actually, Mbeumo out on Gameweek 18 is not too bad, because basically you get Luton, you get Brighton, you get Sheffield, you get Aston Villa, and then you can probably think about just dumping him. Even though these fixtures are really good, in theory, I think Gordon can actually do quite well, because Gordon's got good fixtures around that point. Maybe Gordon, for example, when you get Gordon versus Luton and Gordon versus Nottingham Forest, that's quite good. And then obviously Mbeumo leaves to AFCON on 21, so that's not too bad, I think, a team structure like that. Okay, so going back to chat though, you think Watkins offers a level of consistency that no one else does? I completely agree with you. I think Watkins is the most consistent forward option that we have in FPL outside of Erling Haaland. Like, he's basically what I would call Watkins is he is budget Kane, right? Nailed 90-minute player, barely gets injured. Unfortunately, obviously he's not on penalties, but you have a player who has astoundingly good underlying stats and it's just very consistent. Doesn't have, for example, the propensity to be subbed off early, and doesn't have to deal with, for example, Callum Wilson or, I don't know, a full-strength Liverpool team with good rotation possibilities. Captain Paul. Yeah, let's do a Captain Paul. Why not? You can't wait for Tony. I don't want to wait for Tony. I liked my Mbeumo on penalties. So captaincy is going to be Haaland, and then Salah, and then Mbeumo. I don't think there's any other options, unless you want to go Darwin / Isaac, I think. And let's just start the poll there. Okay, so what is my team value? My team value is 104.3 million. 104.3 million. In a pickle posted on Discord. I can have a look at Discord very briefly, Soldier Boy. Yeah, okay, you might need to take a hit, if I'm honest. I guess Watkins to Darwin is probably the best situation, because at least you'll have cash coming in potentially who would be okay. That's probably the only hit I would consider taking. But that's only if Watkins is out. Otherwise, obviously, just go Bowen out. But I don't think so. Focal is going to tweet Watkins news now. All right, let's stay tuned for that. Thoughts on Tomiyasu? I mean, Tomiyasu has already made it into the first team. But the question, of course, is, does he get the Luton fixture or does he get the Aston Villa fixture? I'm not quite sure about that. Play Cash or Trippier? I think I'd play Trippier 100%. Diaby to Mbeumo this week, I think, is the best move. Still got Eze in your team, but we'll bench him. I think that's fine. Makes sense to me. I'm just 30 points away. All right, Night King. Are you catching up to me? Or are you 30 points ahead of me? Watkins to Darwin for -4. No substitute. Yeah, okay, fine. I would do that -4. But let's wait for the Focal news if he's about to tweet. I don't need to take him. I'm not going to be taking a -4 hit. Let me just quickly check. So if Focal's about to tweet now, let's have a look. You know what I need to do as well? I need to tweet my team selection, but after I make my transfers, I'm still waiting for my transfer list. So let's go on the transfer page. Get some hype going here. Ready to make my moves. 824 points. Nice, Night King. That's awesome. I'm going for Haaland in my poll there. I don't know if you guys are. Lots of Salah captainers, so it's going to be a decent swing this week. I rolled a transfer. No, I didn't roll the transfer. I have just one transfer to make, basically. I'm either going Zinchenko or I'm either going Darwin. I'm not going for both moves. Do I consider transferring Son out soon? No, I think if you want to consider transferring Son out, you would do it now. Do I have a league of my own in FPL? Yeah, I do, absolutely. Let me find the league code very quickly for you. So my league code, actually, I can just copy the link into chat, and I hope, I'm not sure if that would show. Actually, I'll just, this is the league code. If Jackson plays his best, hoping he'll get booked for simulation. Okay. What to do with Alvarez? I would probably just keep Alvarez. There's no reason to sell Alvarez this week. From Gameweek 16 onwards, who do you think will be the better pick, Sterling or Nkunku? I'd probably say still Sterling, unless Sterling somehow miraculously loses minutes. Because honestly, as a midfielder, you're still always going to get more points. So that's one thing to think about. Tempted to go with Foden as a punt. You're free hitting 18. I think that's a great punt. Makes sense. It comes up as invalid. That's strange. Are you sure about that? Also, have we got the Focal news or not? I can't actually see Focal's tweet yet. Yeah, still doesn't seem like there's any news on Watkins just yet from Focal. He's still writing it. Okay, fair enough. But in the future, I'll have to do something. I can't afford Darwin. What do you mean in the future you have to do something? You mean for Gameweek 18? I think you can definitely, you can go Darwin if you want to. But I just wouldn't recommend it. It's going to be a late fitness test is what he said about him. Oh, that's not helpful at all. That's not helpful at all. That's not helpful at all. Diaby to Palmer for a -4. I don't think it's worth it. Leaning towards free at 18. I'm not free hitting, I think. Unless we get news next week that the double game week is going to happen. You don't have money in the bank for Alvarez Star in the future, so what to do? I mean, you can always just downgrade someone else in your midfield and upgrade to Darwin. You also don't need Darwin for the future if you're not going to go Darwin this week. So if you don't go Darwin this week, what's the point of going Darwin? Hey, Fran, thoughts on Trent? I think Trent is fantastic. I would definitely think about going Trent if I had the... Like, for example, if I was, let's say, on a 1 structure, so only Salah or only Haaland, I would definitely think about going Trent for now, yeah. I went to Wildcard. I'd probably Wildcard... This week is not a bad week to Wildcard, first of all. 16 is not too bad as well, and then 19 is probably another great opportunity. Hey, Fran, hope you're doing well. Son or Saka in Wildcard draft? I'd probably go Saka. Because at least you've got this Saka fixture, right, versus Wolves, as opposed to Son versus Man City. I always tend to like having players that actually start with a perfect fixture. So, of course, in that situation, I would pick Saka. And Mbeumo or Haaland for a -4. Obviously, I'd pick Haaland for a -4. Hey, Fran, should I do Bowen, Watkins, and Son for Haaland, and Mbeumo, and Kluivert, Garnacho? The thing is, I don't like Kluivert or Garnacho. But I know you probably want Haaland and Mbeumo, and Haaland and Mbeumo are very, very good picks. I'd probably pick Garnacho in this situation, I suppose, and then actually take that hit if you really want to do so. Hey, Fran, I own cash Eze and Watkins. Who should I transfer out? I'd probably transfer out Eze first, because if you can go Mbeumo, I think that's fantastic. We also need to wait for the Watkins news, to be honest. I haven't seen the Watkins news. If Focal says it's a late fitness test, that's really not helpful, unfortunately, in terms of my transfers. If it's a late fitness test, I think I'm actually going to go Watkins to Darwin and call it a day. Captaincy. Captaincy for me is Haaland. I've explained it because I just think Spurs are going to line up with a double fullback and center back positions, and not expecting much from that situation. And City, of course, are at home. So yeah. Are you joking? I mean, if it's a late fitness test, guys, that's not news at all. That's not news at all. Apparently, a decision will be made closer to kickoff, is what Focal says. Still more than 24 hours out. Late fitness test. Sorry, it's nothing concrete. Have asked if there's any more info other than that. That's not useful at all, unfortunately. Um. Uh. Am I going Watkins out? I think I'm going Watkins out, guys. Who's going? Okay, let's do a poll. Um. All right, I'm gonna ask three questions, or give you three answers: yes, no, and yes -4. So if you're taking a hit for Watkins, let me know. My team value is 104.3 million. Is He-Chan better than Palmer? I think so, but He-Chan obviously is a Gameweek 15 transfer as opposed to Gameweek 14. This whole Watkins injury is a farce. I don't think so, though, because Watkins actually has been in the Aston Villa squad for 1 year straight. So there was no reason for him to not be in the squad in the Europa Conference League match. So personally, I think that's going to change things. Oh, Dobber, good luck with the Leicester game. Already went out of Watkins. I'm probably going to go Watkins out. I think this is quite silly. Should I get Nunez, guys? What do you guys think? Who am I landing on captaincy? My man Haaland is going to be the captain. All right, guys. I think I'm going to have to make a transfer. In my opinion, I think I'm going to have to make a transfer. That news is not very good. That news is not very good. It's Darwizzy time. It's Darwizzy time. Stress, guys. Stress. Yeah, exactly. It's first Bournemouth, so if obviously Watkins starts, it's pretty bad. The news is that we have no news. That's the sad part. We don't have any news, guys. The news is that Watkins might start, might not start, because apparently there's a late fitness test tomorrow. So the major con for losing Watkins is if Watkins is out of our team, first of all, I lose 0.2 selling value over him, but of course he's going to drop anyway, so I would actually gain from the Darwin price rise, and I would obviously benefit from, avoiding the Watkins price fall. However, the real con is actually Watkins is going to be my Game Week 18 captain. So I just think I don't want to deal with the risk, and I have a strong enough team to deal with Watkins being out, right? And I can actually upgrade, this godforsaken player, Areola, to Raya next week, and I can live my best life, potentially. But the problem next week as well is I probably need a defender transfer. Maybe I could actually just play Gabriel Simicas Porro as well. I mean, Watkins is very good, guys, but I think the reality is I'm going to go back to Watkins on Game Week 18. And I'm happy with that. You know what? I've made my decision. We've got Darwin. Let's go. And Haaland is my captain as well. Okay. Transfer made. Worried about Lascelles and a wild card. Yeah, I think Botman apparently is quite close to a return. We've made the Darwin transfer. I'm gonna quickly tweet about it. Let's just enjoy life. Watch Darwin blank. I mean, Darwin's gonna. It's okay if Darwin blanks. I don't really mind. He's a pretty good player. Why not consider Isaac instead? I think I've explained it previously, where I just think fixtures are slightly worse for Newcastle, and if I'm going to bring both of them back for Watkins on Game Week 18, I prefer, for example, going to Darwin. So yeah, just going to quickly tweet my team. So I'm locked in, obviously. Watkins to... I mean, it's okay if Darwin blanks, But the thing is, you have to always think about, like, stop thinking that people will blank because you own them or you don't own them. The reality is this is a great fixture for Darwin, just like this is a great fixture for Watkins. But ultimately, if I have a doubt on Watkins and Darwin, for example, is going to give me some upgrades in the future, I can use that money in the future to upgrade Areola into Raya. I can use that money in the future to potentially get another better defender over Cash, right? So because I said Cash is trash, I can go James, I can go Saliba potentially, I can even go Walker without any regrets, and I won't have 0.0 in the bank. In the future, on Gameweek 18, I can maybe take out Mbumo for Gordon. That would give me enough money to actually go back from Darwin to Watkins, and I would have no problems by Gameweek 18. So that's the idea there. Obviously, Darwin is a slightly poor finisher. That's true. But it doesn't mean that Darwin is not going to be able to get points. First of all, he passes to Mo Salah quite a bit, who's actually pretty good at finishing. And if you look at, for example, underlying stats like expected assists, you'll actually see that Darwin actually has really high expected assists for a forward. He's one of the leading forward players in the world with really, really high expected assists compared to, let's say, someone like Isaac, who's pretty much just XG dominant. Obviously, Isaac has penalties, which is nice. But I like both options. Personally, I just think the fixture is better here. It's Darwin versus Fulham. I'm going to take that opportunity. So, yeah. Palmer for Eze and play 3-5-2 with Wisa. I think starting Archer makes sense, but obviously if you've got chances to go Mbumo, if you've got chances to go Darwin, do so without a -4. I'm going to end the poll there. I'm going to go Watkins out as well. Is bringing Mbumo -4. I think Mbumo's worth it for a -4 because I can at least say that Mbumo's minutes are guaranteed for the next few fixtures, and he's such a good pick that obviously he's good. Will James have a price drop? Well, James will have a price drop if people are selling him, but I don't think people are actually selling James, so I don't think he'll have a price drop. Vedant says he's got one free transfer. What to do? Santasaka or Hechan replacement. I think you can go. I don't really like Santasaka if I'm honest, but maybe Santasaka makes sense. Who would you start? Palmer or Solanke? I'd probably start Palmer if I'm honest. Is Palmer worth a -4? I don't think he's worth a -4. Bowen or Diaby out for Mbumo? I'd probably go Bowen out because I'm not sure if Bowen will actually play. If you have a Bowen and Watkins problem, I think one of them can be Archer. Obviously, this week you can just play Archer. The other one you can just go. I would rather go Mbumo out first. Bowen or Diaby out for Mbumo. I'd probably go Bowen out as well, just because Bowen is actually. I don't really know if he's going to play. Whereas with Diaby, at least he doesn't have an injury. I'm gonna put you in timeout though, not to spam in chat. What to do for free at 18 if you have Alvarez? If you're free hitting on 18, that's totally fine. You're just free hit on 18. What do you mean by what to do? Is Gordon worth a -4? I don't think so. Is Palmer and Darwin worth a -4? It depends who's going out for you. You said -8 previously, now it's -4. I don't really know. It depends on who's going out. Why Colwell? I just don't really like Matty Cash versus Bournemouth. It's a home fixture as well. Colwell will definitely play, and ultimately, yeah, home versus away. I don't know if Cash will start, so that's my concern with Cash. Mubama or Lascelles over Eze? I'd probably play Lascelles. Because I don't know if Mubama will actually start. As far as Palmer plus Mbumo plus Darwin for Eze, how are they in the Fran League? What do you mean? So the code for the league is this. I don't know if you guys can actually see the link, but let me know. Hopefully that will work. You have Watkins and Diaby both. If Watkins doesn't start, Diaby does. I have to play Archer anyways. Yeah, I think that's fine, Roshan. Bench Watkins or Palmer? I'd probably bench Watkins in this situation. Who'd you bench out of Diaby, Alvarez, Palmer? I'd probably bench Diaby. Start Cash, Mitchell, or Taylor? I'd probably start Taylor. Bowen replacement. Definitely Mbumo first, then Palmer. For this week specifically. Start Poro or sell Cash for Lascelles for -4. I'd start. I mean, look, I'd probably just start Poro, but it's not ideal. Do you not have anyone else that you can play? Start Cash or Lascelles? I'd probably start Lascelles. Play Flecken or Areola? Play Areola, in my opinion. Actually, play Flecken 100%. Play Flecken 100%. Should I keep Trippier? I think so. This is a good Trippier week, unless you've got a huge upgrade to make in another position. Any info on Tomiyasu? I think he'll start over White in the Wolves game, but I can't confirm that he'll start. I mean, I don't think Cash is pretty much indispensable though. That would be my opinion on that. For example, just looking at how effectual I suppose the team was with him off. I know he's obviously ideal. Like he's still going to be the #1 starting right back, but I don't think he's necessarily going to have to start, for example, versus Bournemouth away, if that makes sense. Start Guehi or risk playing Cash. I'd probably start Guehi. I don't even think the upside for Cash is that much. It's still an away fixture. Bournemouth are a pretty competent attack, if anything. So yeah, is Kelleher a good transfer? 100%. You would rather start Taylor Lascelles. I'd probably start Taylor. Better clean sheet odds. Bench Watkins or Gordon. I'd probably bench Watkins. Bowen to Palmer or Sterling. I'd probably go Sterling, actually. If you can actually afford Sterling, like, go Sterling. One transfer, Son to Saka or Bowen to Palmer. I'd probably go Bowen to Palmer. Just because I actually really like Son. You should have a countdown time on my live videos. Yeah, that's a good shout, actually. Thoughts on Zinchenko? I love Zinchenko as a punt for 2 weeks, but you always have to be sure if he plays on that Luton fixture or not. Maybe you won't know. Do you think White will start? I actually think White will be benched. Because why do the 45-minute substitutions in the Champions League if White is going to suddenly play? Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, if I thought White was going to play versus Wolves, I probably would have thought Zinchenko off at half-time, and then Tomiyasu plays like 80 minutes or 70 minutes, and then White just comes on. Gibbs White is a perfectly valid pick. I just think that maybe he's still slightly worse than Palmer, and I think if you have, for example, the ability to wait for next week, I think Hwang is a great transfer as well. Martinez or Areola? I'd probably play Areola. Wasn't the Darwin move reactionary? Well, of course it's reactionary. It's reactionary to the fact that we don't have Watkins news. But this is what FPL is about. You react to news or the absence of news. FPL gave me more stress than my university bachelor's degree finals. Yeah, I can't say if I'm always someone who always does my studying late, so I always felt stressed because obviously I felt like there was a time crunch. But in terms of FPL, I think one thing you also have to accept sometimes is you don't have control over results, right? Isn't Gabriel a minutes risk as well? I think he's less of a minutes risk than Zinchenko, for example. Because I don't think Kiwior, for example, is as competent as a substitute option for Gabriel than, let's say, maybe Tomiyasu is at times for Zinchenko at left back. Start Guehi or Cash. I mean, obviously, Kiwior can also play left back too, which is what we saw in the Champions League. I'm not sure if I should take a -4 to get Nunez in instead of Watkins. I don't think it's necessarily worth a -4. Is my team set, or are you planning on making any more moves? My team is set 100%. Which team do I support? I support Real Madrid, so I'm pretty unbiased when it comes to the Premier League. Mbumo captain. I think he's probably the third best captaincy, but it's up to you. Worried about Palmer? I'm not worried about Palmer penalties. If someone can take 4 out of 4 penalties and still lose penalties, I would be shocked. I don't see Palmer losing penalties personally. Should I start Mitchell or Tsimikas? I would definitely start Tsimikas. Cash or Guehi? I'd probably go Guehi for safety. Bench Lascelles, He-Chan, or Taylor? I'd actually probably bench He-Chan. It's Arsenal, one of the best defenses in the world, probably the best defense in the world. Hi, Fran. Son and Watkins out for Holland and Palmer, but I have to take a -8. I don't think it's worth the -8, my friend, honestly. But I mean, if you're going Holland, fair enough. I just think Son and Watkins are very, very good picks. Even Watkins after this week, the 2 fixtures at least are home. And yeah, I don't really know if it's worth a -8 to go for Holland. If you want to do it this week, this is the best week to do it because obviously Son and Watkins. Watkins obviously has a doubt. Son doesn't have a good fixture, but I don't really love taking -8s. Sanchez or Areola, I'd definitely play. I'd probably play Sanchez. I don't really have much faith in Areola, but I own Areola, so what can I do? Start Adingra or Taylor or Cash. I'd probably start Taylor over Cash, but maybe. I mean, I think it's a toss-up between Adingra and Taylor. I'd probably pick Taylor. Has Hwang been playing 9? I mean, Hwang sort of is... There's like 3 attackers in that system, right? So, I mean, ultimately, it's not like Hwang is completely, entirely central. It's sort of him and Cunha are sort of those... I mean, I would argue them as like a double 9, right? Because you kind of have, for example, the back 3, then Aït-Nouri Semedo. Then, of course, you have a midfield 3, and then Hwang and Cunha are both basically your 2 9s there. So... yeah. And then obviously if Neto comes back, it becomes an attacking front 3 in that situation. So it really depends. Is White a rotation risk now? Yes, he is. I'm gonna have to put you in timeout though, because spam. Sell Watkins, Adingra, or Cash as second transfer. I'd probably sell Cash, to be honest. But if you want to sell Watkins for Darwin, I think it makes sense as well. If it's just a free transfer. -4 to get in Holland for Alvarez, I think that's worth the -4 actually. I would probably do that. Should I start Dallo? It really depends. I mean, who else do you have in your team? If you don't have any other defenders, then go for it. How many reactionary bugs are you? How you make I'm so confused. No, Noah. Um, how many reactionary buys are how you make money? I'm so lost. What do you mean by that question? Am I hyped for absolutely hyped for the GTA 6 trailer? -4 to bring in Gabriel. I don't think it's worth a -4. Does Konate or Matip start? I would think that Konate starts because he got rested a little bit early in the European game, but I can't confirm that. Why Mbeumo? I mean, he has incredible underlying stats. He's on penalties. Why would Mbeumo not be a must-have? I wouldn't say he's a must-have, but he's one of the best picks for this week. Absolutely. He's versus Luton at home. Would you take a -4 to go from Turner, Chukwuemeka, Alvarez to Kelleher and Mbeumo? No, I would not do that -4. Start Taylor, Archer, or Palmer. I'd probably start Palmer. Is Soufal playing? I'm not sure, actually. Is there any reason why Soufal hasn't been playing lately? Have I missed something? Is it because Johnson's playing right now? I think Soufal will probably play, my friend, so I'd probably just play Soufal. Steele to Kelleher. I think that's a good move. Gordon in for Son. If you really want to get out of Son and you plan to, for example, make some money from it, that would make sense. Nice, you're from Nepal, Roshan. I'm actually I'm from Hong Kong, but obviously I'm half Spanish as well, so half Hong Konger, half Spanish. Jack Hall says went to a nightclub. Who are we talking about? Soufal, but that was for international duty. That has nothing to do with West Ham. Soufal played the last game versus Burnley, right? Oh, Soufal was ill midweek. Okay. I mean, I'd probably just risk it in terms of just playing Soufal, for example, and if he doesn't start, then you just get whoever is on your bench. I've already explained Mbeumo being a must-have Uday. I mean, if you want to listen, you can listen. If you don't want to, that's fine. I'm original from Hong Kong. Nice to see you, Adrian. Watkins to Archer, Bowen to Saka, or Watkins to Darwin, Bowen to Palmer / Gordon. I still prefer the Watkins to Darwin move, actually. Actually, Bowen to Saka is quite nice, but the thing is, you'd be forced to play Archer, right? So, thank you, Alfred. Can't stand West Ham defense, man. Never good. Yeah, I think West Ham defense just isn't very good. That's why I pretty much never had West Ham as a high rated defense on my cheat sheet. They're a very, very bad defense right now. You have the weakest defense in your league. I think Tsimikas, Colwill, Lamptey's tough for this week. I'd probably try and fix your defense, honestly. Yeah, I agree with that. Any news on Bowen? I've got no news on Bowen, unfortunately. I mean, Mbeumo just has great stats, great fixture, and is on penalties. Nothing to really complain about. Play or bench Kudus. I definitely play Kudus. Any news on Bowen and Watkins? It seems like Watkins is facing a late fitness test, so we actually had no news. I thought we would get news from Focal, but there's no news. Bowen and Watkins, we can't confirm anything. So I think the most advisable option that I've been saying to people is if you've got Bowen, think about going to players like Saka or Mbeumo. If you have Watkins, think about going to players like Darwin or Isaac. But I probably wouldn't take a -8. -4 is probably as far as I would go if you own the pair of Bowen and Watkins. Cash to Van Dijk or Trippier. I'd probably go Van Dijk, actually. Just sort of tap into those Liverpool fixtures. Is double Arsenal? I think it's fantastic this game week. I think Elanga is a viable differential, but I don't think he's great. Like, for example, I don't know if he's guaranteed to start every fixture, which is my concern really with him. Oh, I've actually made an error in my tweet. Didn't even notice that, actually. Can't even edit the tweet. Oh, that's so sad. Why can't I edit that tweet? She said it was game week 18. Well, that was silly. Fair enough. All right, fine, whatever. Right, quickly looking at chat. Isaac or Darwin -4. I'd probably go Darwin, honestly. I've gone Darwin myself. -8 for Bowen, Saka, cash to Simicast. I think that those are pretty good moves. Sell Sterling for Bowen. You mean sell Bowen for Sterling, right? I think that's a good move. Am I crazy for wanting to remove Son to free up funds? I mean, what are the funds going to be freed up to do, if that makes sense, in your team? Watkins update. Unfortunately, Focal had no update on Watkins. So yeah, there's just no news basically on Watkins, unfortunately. Um, Doku or Palmer? I would probably go Palmer because Doku sort of commits you to having another player on blank game week 18 that's not useful. Why no Jesus for Watkins? First of all, Jesus isn't on penalties. Second of all, Jesus is a pretty bad finisher. And third of all, Arsenal's attack are much worse than Newcastle and Liverpool's attack. Major transfer. Appreciate that, Vedant. Hope you have a good week. Should I pick Watkins or Taylor? I think you can risk Watkins starting, and then obviously Taylor will come in. Like, I think if you guys are going to keep Watkins, right, in your teams, then I would keep Watkins and then actually just let whoever is on the bench come in for Watkins. Because I really struggle to see Watkins would be something like a late sub or something like that, you know? Why not Jackson for Watkins? For me, Nkunku is going to kind of hamper Jackson's minutes in the future, so I would be quite concerned about Jackson's minutes in the short term, but more so in the medium term. Double Liverpool defense, I don't think it's worth it. Do you mean Kelleher and Simicast? I think if that's the options you're going with, that's fair enough. Do I do a Dingra to Palmer or Watkins to Darwin? I prefer Watkins to Darwin. Are you planning on starting Palmer over Archer? Yes, of course. Palmer is starting over Archer in my team. I would probably start Taylor over Archer. Double Liverpool defense worth it? Yes, it is. Start Son or Wood? I'd start Son. Why not Alvarez for Watkins? I don't really want more Man City players because I'm not going to free hit on 18 probably. Also, if you guys could like and subscribe, that would absolutely be lovely. And Kunku will probably... But the thing is, do you really think Sterling... Like, honestly, think about it, Ben. Like, do you really think that Sterling and Palmer would be benched instead and actually Jackson will be playing in front of him? I actually think that Nkunku can play ahead of him. If you watch the preseason for Chelsea, there were many fixtures in the beginning where actually Jackson was on the bench and Nkunku was playing in a central forward position. So I actually think that it's very, very likely that we'll actually have Nkunku play central forward, which he has also done in Red Bull Leipzig. Alvarez to Darwin for a hit. I don't think it's really worth it. What's my highest rank in one FPL season? Top 10k. 8k right now. 8k last season, basically. I only pretty much started playing FPL 3 years ago because I mean, I previously played it. I have FPL season histories that are like a 6 million finish, but that was because I just literally played for 7 weeks, or a 3 million finish, which is when I literally had a dead team from rolling from game week 1. So I would only say I've seriously played FPL for 3 years. All the ranks have been top 100k so far. And this is my 4th season, basically, in terms of serious FPL seasons. But I've progressively got better in FPL. I would say 4 years ago, I didn't even check for leaks. I didn't even check for deadline streams. I didn't even, follow like kind of manager press conferences. And then after that, started looking into, for example, stats as well, probably last year. So my sort of approach to FPL has definitely greatly improved, taking a little bit more of a stats approach, as well as obviously just using the eye test and following manager press conferences, things like that. Eze is injured in my team. Should I take a -8 for Darwin to Watkins and to Palmer? I don't think the -8's too great. But if you really feel like they're not going to play and you don't have someone like Archer to come in, that's fair enough. -4 for Neto out. I think that makes sense. Obviously, if you don't have anyone coming in to play, Who should I start? Dean, Anderson, Lascelles. I'd probably just play Dean because I think Dean is actually very likely to play because obviously Moreno, he's coming back from injury. He played 90 minutes in the European fixture, so I think Dean will play. Alvarez to Solanke for a free. I think it's a good transfer. Yeah, I quite like it. But I would also just consider keeping Alvarez or yeah, I would just keep Alvarez in this case. It's versus Tottenham at home. I'd probably keep Alvarez, so I probably wouldn't do it actually. I think about it. Gabriel Jesus. I think Gabriel Jesus is a differential, but is he a good differential? In my opinion, no. I prefer Isaac. I prefer Darwin, 100%. Because, you know, at least Isaac has penalties. At least Darwin has crazy underlying stats. And a lot of people are going to say, okay, Darwin's a bad finisher. But actually, you know what? Jesus is 100% a worse finisher than Darwin. Is Saliba worth 5.5 million? I think you can take the punt for Gabriel, if that makes sense. Martinelli worth keeping. I'd consider selling if you had the luxury, but otherwise I'd probably keep Martinelli. Diaby to Saka for -4. I think that's a good -4. Start Cash or Taylor. I'd probably start Taylor. Bring in Saliba or Zinchenko. Already have Gabriel. I'd probably bring in. I don't mind punting on Zinchenko, but I think for safety reasons I would go Saliba, since it doesn't seem to be an issue for you. I couldn't bring Saliba in. If I could bring Saliba in, I would. So that's sort of my situation. Replacement for Neto. Probably just Palmer. Planning on switching Areola? Yeah, next week I'm going to go Raya or Kelleher. And obviously, if I go Kelleher, that would be for Turner. If I go for Raya, that would be for Areola, just to let you know. Differential picks for Eze next week. I think Hwang is amazing next week as a transfer. He's got Burnley at home. So, yeah. Start Lascelles, Colwell, or Simicast. I'd probably start 100%. I'd start Simicast first. Start Cash or Adingra. I'd start Adingra. Sammy says Mr. Fran -8 for Darwin Kelleher to replacing Turner. Watkins, I think that's actually really good. Yeah. I don't know if it's worth a -8, though, in my opinion. So I would probably just go Darwin, -4. Would you start Taylor over Cash? Yes. Gordon or Mbumo? 100% Mbumo. It's not even a question for me. Reasoning for Haaland captain over Salah. First of all, Spurs are basically playing 4 fullbacks at defense. They were awful last week on defense. They're a much weaker team than they were 3 weeks ago when they actually had two competent centre-backs. City's at home, which is great. Obviously, Fulham is a fantastic fixture, but yeah, when I think about how bad Spurs have become as a defense in our expectations, that's enough for me to say that Haaland has become an edged out Salah as a captaincy. Watkins out for Darwin for a hit. I definitely would think about that, but maybe not for a hit, honestly. Maybe not for a hit. It really just depends. Like I think you have to sort of make a gut call. Do you think Watkins plays, or do you think Watkins will be benched? I personally think that because I have the luxury with one free transfer to sort of address that situation, I would just go out of Darwin. But for a hit, that's a probably different question. Why is Cash getting the shade? First of all, his underlying stats have declined. Second of all, I think he's no longer 100% guaranteed to start every single game for Aston Villa in the Premier League. So that's my concern with Cash. For example, just look like the way I like to see it, right? And you can argue this fits for Colwell as well, but I'll explain why I'm playing Colwell. But when a player, right, gets halftime subbed at any time, in my opinion, probably just suggests that they're not, for example, first choice, or that manager doesn't have the faith that they can actually finish the game. Now, obviously, Cash had a very unique situation because he was absolutely, destroying players, and made some pretty bad tackles in that first half versus Tottenham. But it just shows you that this Aston Villa team can play very competently without Cash. So I don't think he's necessarily, for example, 100% needed. Will Wan-Bissaka play? I can't confirm that. I actually think that Dalo will play because Wan-Bissaka played in the midweek. And maybe Wan-Bissaka will need to can be rested, for example. Cash was played. Yeah, but Cash has been played out of position at right mid, but he's pretty much still been playing as a sort of fullback if you look at the system when it changes, right? So he's not like a right winger. They play 2 forwards, and then they actually sort of play a 4-4-2. So obviously, Cash can play right mid at times, but there's going to be times when, for example, you can see in the Tottenham fixture when they just switch to a 4-3-3 or something like that. And for that reason, with Tielemans also coming into the team in the midfield, it doesn't really mean that there's always going to be a spot for Cash on the team. And obviously, if he's a right back and the fixture is actually Bournemouth away, it's not particularly good. If you don't think Watkins starts, I think take the -4 hit. I don't think Colwell is a good transfer in, by the way, Ben. I own Colwell, and I don't think he's a particularly good transfer. I mean, Cash was playing right mid when he scored those 2 goals versus Burnley. It's not like he's better when he's a right back. That's my personal opinion. The fullbacks in this Aston Villa team are very attacking anyways. I agree with that. Captain Haaland and Salah. I mean, I'm going Haaland. Whom to put, Colwell versus Taylor? I would definitely play. I'd probably play Taylor actually. Better clean sheet odds. Cash or Sufal? I'd probably just play Sufal. Best goalkeeper for next 5 game weeks? I'd still go... Maybe just still Raya, honestly. I would still say Raya. Or Kelleher. Raya or Kelleher. I think Kelleher actually makes a lot of sense. Kelleher is good. Is double Arsenal defense good? Yeah, of course it is. Who should I start? Anderson or Lascelles? I'd probably start Lascelles. I like to back the home fixtures when the clean sheet odds aren't particularly close. Start both Alvarez and Haaland or Alvarez to Watkins. What do you mean Alvarez to Watkins? Of course, just start Alvarez and Watkins. And start Alvarez and Haaland. Don't go Watkins this week. Hi, Fran. Is Kudus likely to start? I think so. Why did I bring in Nunez this week? I just thought... I think there's a bit of a risk with Watkins, and I think this is a great chance to play Darwin versus Fulham. Alisson isn't out for long, but the thing is, Alisson is out until game week 19. If you look at the fixtures, 14, 15, 16 is really bad, right? He's going to miss those fixtures for sure. That's just a 1 week time span, and you'll get additional weeks with Kelleher as well, because I think the expected date for Alisson to come back is Man United, which means that you'll probably be getting Kelleher until game week 18. Watkins has better fixtures despite the risk. How does he have better fixtures? He's literally playing City and Arsenal back to back, and then I'm going to bring Darwin back in after that. I'm not even sure what kind of point. Are you really telling me that Man City, Arsenal, and Bournemouth are better fixtures than Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, and Fulham? I mean, be serious. Diaby or Alvarez to bench? Definitely Diaby for me. Reason for Taylor. One of the highest clean sheet odds this week. He's playing versus probably one of the worst attacks in Premier League history in Sheffield United, and he's at home. Start Fernandes away or Trippier at home? Definitely Trippier at home for me. Pope or Areola? I'd probably start Pope, actually. I have a bit more confidence in Newcastle's defensive team. I think Areola stinks, but I own Areola, so what can I do? Turner to Kelleher or Watkins to Darwin? I would probably go for both if you could. I'm surprised you can go both. Do you not have someone like Simicast, actually? Sell Saka or Son for Salah, -4. Probably Son, if you're going to take someone out for this week. Saka has a great fixture, Son doesn't. Do you think Darwin plays the next 3? I think Darwin plays 2 out of 3, but can actually get really good minutes coming on for Sheffield United. I don't really have time to look at one-on-one advice, but obviously I do, give that sort of service to members, obviously. So you'll always have access to, for example, to DM me ahead of time and discuss your team. But when there's 200 plus people in chat, unfortunately, I don't have time to sort of look at people's links. Is Cash? I think Cash will probably play, but I can't guarantee. It's probably 70% for me. I've done Watkins Darwin too. Good luck, James. As far as the question, I think that was asked earlier. Who should I start, Dean or Lascelles? I'd probably go Dean. Should I bring in Zinchenko or Pinnock? I think Pinnock is safer, as a pick in terms of the minutes that he's going to get. But I think Zinchenko is really good upside. So if you don't mind Zinchenko for 2 weeks, I think Zinchenko is a very, very good short-term pick. Sell Bowen or Watkins for a -4. I'd probably go Bowen to Mbeumo if you could. Why did I choose Darwin over Isaac? Better fixtures, probably similar minutes because obviously Newcastle have to rest Isaac for the Champions League, and that's it. And obviously lack of penalties for Isaac, yes, but I think Darwin still has better running XGI. Isaac, of course, you can't look at the sample size this season and say that that's going to be his default expected goal involvement, because the reality is Darwin's played a lot of minutes this season, so we can be comfortable about his ability to sort of produce that XGI, whereas with Isaac, still very, very small sample size. If you look at, for example, last season, way too drastic of a change for us to be that confident. And then obviously Darwin's a very creative player as well. Why Haaland captain? I just think Spurs have, regressed so much as a defensive option that ultimately I think that it makes a lot of sense to go Haaland because a lot of us think about Spurs as a top half team, but the reality is you always have to think about Haaland as an attacker targeting a defense. And right now, I think Spurs are basically probably a bottom 8 defense. And particularly with Romero out still in this fixture and Van de Ven still out due to injury, I still think that this is a prime fixture for Haaland. So I'm going with Haaland captain. I'm just going to quickly check for any last second news, if there's any news. Did Focal tweet again? Okay, so Focal's keeping Watkins, but he basically said that there's not a leak. A decision is going to be made closer to kickoff, so that doesn't tell us anything. Fine, whatever. So no news on Watkins, unfortunately. It just seems like there's going to be a late fitness test. Diaby to Mbeumo, I think, is a fantastic transfer. Reason to Diaby bench. I just think that right now, if you watch Diaby play, sometimes he's always getting subbed off super early. Now, obviously, if Watkins is out, then it probably allows for Diaby to stay on the field quite a lot. But I think Mbeumo is just better than Diaby, you know? Mbeumo is way clearer of an option compared to Diaby, particularly since the fixture is literally better for Mbeumo as well. And he's a penalty taker. Sell Bowen or Watkins for a -4. I would probably just, yeah, I would probably sell Bowen if I could go to Mbeumo personally. Watkins to Darwin plus Diaby to Mbeumo. Whoa, I definitely like the Ben. I like your move about Diaby to Mbeumo. I think that move is fantastic. I would 100% go Diaby to Mbeumo if I could. And that's why I did it last week myself. Eze plus Watkins to Mbeumo, Isaac, or a minus hit. I would probably just go... I would do the top option, Luis Silva. Thoughts on Jesus? I think he pales in comparison. The underlying stats are worse. Arsenal are a worse attack than Newcastle and Liverpool. And he's not on penalties either. And yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to. I think it's okay to sell Watkins to a forward because obviously in 2 or 3 weeks' time, you'll probably have the ability to move back into Watkins, Ben. Play Gordon or Palmer? I think it's Palmer, but I think that's the general 50-50. Would you sell Watkins and Bowen for Isaac and Mbeumo or Darwin and Mbeumo? I'd probably go Darwin and Mbeumo. Why Captain Haaland over Salah? I've already explained it. Personally, I just think Tottenham have declined so much as a defense. The lineup they're going to field in the Etihad is shocking, and I think it's a great chance for Haaland to be a good captain. And as I said, I think Tottenham have basically, right now, if you were to rate this specific Tottenham team, I would consider them a bottom 5, bottom 8 defense, really. That's how bad they are on defense. Doesn't mean anything in terms of, let's say, how good Tottenham's attack are. I think Tottenham's attack is still very, very strong. But yeah, as a fixture for Haaland, 100%, this is going to be a Haaland captaincy for me. Colwell or Cash? I'd play Colwell. I mean, I've got Colwell on my own team. Start Cash or Taylor? I'd start Taylor as well. I just think Cash, you have to also think that Bournemouth are quite a good, competent attacking team, right? So this is an away fixture as well, which obviously is a bit worse. So Aston Villa's clean sheet odds this week is actually really low. It's something like 24%. For example, Chelsea have higher clean sheet odds. For example, Burnley have literally 40% clean sheet odds. So actually, this is a very bad fixture for Cash anyways. I'm not 100% sure if he's going to start, second of all. And then third of all, yeah, ultimately, why not just bank on the clean sheet odds that are better? Cash to Gabriel for a hit. I think it's not worth the hit. Who do you think on Bowen and Watkins on their chance to start? I really can't confirm. I don't have inside news on these two players, and I really can't confirm. I'm sorry about that. Is Colwell getting more time? I mean, Colwell, so Cucurella is suspended, James is suspended, so Colwell has to play. If Colwell doesn't play, I'm going to have to, I don't even know what to say. They don't even have any left backs right now. So I think Colwell has to start. Seen a lot of Shaw hype. I think Shaw is wonderful. But still, the fixtures for Man United are pretty bad. And I mean, Cucurella sucks or not, it doesn't really matter. Pochettino still has been playing Cucurella. John Stone to Areola to start. I'd probably start Areola, honestly. I like to back the home player in that fixture. Palmer in for Bowen, I think that makes sense, but probably not for a -4. If you're taking -4s for Darwin, I think it's all right. Notorious, long time no see indeed. Watkins and Nunez for a hit. You've also got Kudus. Haven't seen you in a while, so I really appreciate you being around. Hope you're doing well, just in general. Personally, I think that Watkins and Nunez, it really depends. Like, do you have Archer, for example, sitting on your bench? I probably wouldn't do it for a hit. But yeah, I think also if you're saying that you have Kudus coming off the bench, then I would just play Kudus instead. I wouldn't take the hit if you have someone on your bench that's actually really good in your situation. Obviously, if you have no one on the bench coming in for Watkins, then maybe consider the hit. But right now, I'd probably say just play one of your bench players who you were going to play anyways. And nice to see you around, of course. What do you think about Nketiah in, Watkins out? Why would you go Nketiah in? I don't think it makes any sense. Start Lascelles or Guehi. Definitely start. I would start Lascelles. I prefer the home fixture in this situation. Archer or Dingra. I'd probably play Archer, actually. What do you think of a transfer of Diaby to Kudus? You already have Mbeumo. I probably would still prefer Palmer to save money, but if you want to go Kudus, I think that's perfectly fine. Eze to Palmer for a -4. Yeah. I think if you don't have, once again, if you don't have anyone on your bench that makes sense as a -4. Is Cash for anyone worth it this week? I think Cash for an Arsenal defender is absolutely worth it. 9 minutes left to make some transfers. Have Bournemouth got defensively better? No, not at all. They haven't gotten defensively better. They've just become better on attack. Start Udogie or Bell. I would say, oof, that's tough. I'd start maybe Udogie just because he has some attacking threat. Start Adingra or Cash. I'd probably start Adingra. Maguire, Tsimikas, definitely Tsimikas. Not even a question for me. -4 for Darwin to Watkins. As I said, once again, sort of the same answer that I gave to Notorious. Or Rezul. The answer is if you have someone on the bench who's actually pretty good, then I'd probably avoid the -4. If you don't, then obviously take the -4. Start Colwell or Hwang. I'd probably start Colwell. Who's the most underrated pick? I think Hwang from next week is going to be one of the best picks in the game. Love you, Fran. Love you too, dope boy. I was gonna say love you, Fran, but that doesn't make any sense, does it? What about Nkunku? Nkunku doesn't seem like he's fit enough to start. So, please stop spamming chat as well, if that's all right. Nkunku will probably come into the team very shortly, but I don't think Nkunku will take away Palmer's spot in the team. If anything, as I said, I think he'll probably take Jackson's spot in the team. And no more Jackson jokes in the chat, by the way. Looking at you guys. Start Sufal or Taylor. I'd probably start Taylor. Better clean sheet odds. Watkins update. Unfortunately, Focal gave the update, and there's no update. He's going to have a late fitness test tomorrow. Will we get the lineup before lock? For Arsenal, you mean? I think we won't get the Arsenal lineup, unfortunately. Start Cash or Porro. I'd start Cash still because Porro has such a bad fixture. It's worth the risk to go Cash. I don't think Cash is great, but yeah, Porro I think is horrible for this week, obviously, in the context of it being City. Tsimikas for second Arsenal defender. I would go Tsimikas. Sorry, you just joined. Is Watkins to Isaac good? 100%. Do you often watch the games that you have players in, and does that come into your thinking? 100%. I watch all the games pretty much that I possibly can. I've got 2 streams or 2 screens at home, and I watch practically every single fixture from start to finish. Obviously, when there's like 4 or 5 fixtures at one time, I just prioritize the 2 fixtures where I have the most amount of players playing. Watkins will score a hat-trick tomorrow. Hear my words. That's pretty bold. How long will we be holding? So I might hold Son until AFCON, or Asian Cup rather. Shall I buy Palmer or Gordon? I prefer Palmer just for a bit of cost saving. Is Ben White starting? I actually don't think he will, just based on the Champions League substitutions. Start sub Dean or João Pedro. I'd probably start. I'd probably start João Pedro. Actually, take the punt because obviously with the Ansu Fati news, that makes it very tough. Start Alvarez or Adingra. I'd definitely start Alvarez. Vladimir, I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you around. Start Dollar or Colwell. I'd probably start Colwell, actually. Newcastle away is a pretty horrific fixture. Get Palmer or Gibbs White. I'd probably go Palmer. Best bone replacement if I have Saka and Buma and it's worth a -4. I actually don't think it's worth. I don't think anyone here in the situation is worth a -4 for in your instance. So I would probably just keep Bowen. Will Bowen start? Or you could go Sterling potentially. Sterling could be the one, actually. Darwin for Alvarez -4. I don't think that's worth it for a -4. Thank you, Vladimir. Appreciate it. I remember when I used to text you on Messenger. Hope you're doing well. Nice to see you around. Any news so far? Mohammed, no news on Watkins, unfortunately. I don't think we'll get news, and obviously we've got 6 minutes to go, and doesn't seem like there's any Arsenal news. Guys, if you have Alvarez in your team, I would definitely start him. Like, why are we even considering benching Alvarez? The fixture is really, really good. Sorry, I'm just quickly checking if we have any leaks possible. Doesn't actually seem like we've got any leaks. The only thing that I know apparently so far is that Jesus is starting, but that's it. No, I'm just quickly checking if there's any news possible. doesn't seem like there's any news. I don't have any Arsenal news right now. I would love to, for example, know who's in the Arsenal team, but I don't have any confirmation on that, so that's tough. Sorry about that. Start Taylor or Archer. I think definitely start Taylor in that situation. Watkins hat-trick. All right, guys, that's pretty ambitious, but I hope it happens for you guys. I also hope Darwin gets a hat-trick in that case. Otherwise, I'll be pretty sad. Hello, Fran. Hello, everyone. Best of luck for... Yeah, exactly. Best of luck for everyone. Green arrows for you all. Hope you guys that works. Maguire or Cash. I'd probably start Cash, honestly. That fixture is so bad for Maguire. And he's got no attacking upside, sort of. Trippier hasn't been performing since I got him against Bournemouth. I mean, if you've been following, for example, the cheat sheet series, we've been saying that Trippier, for example, probably wasn't a great option after, let's say, what was that last fixture that was really good for him? I think Wolves, for example, was the last like good fixture for Trippier, and then actually became rather a pretty prolonged average fixture run for Newcastle. I think that if you can obviously upgrade in some of the midfield attacking positions, then it makes sense to go out of Trippier. However, actually, I will say that actually Trippier versus Man United at home is probably one of the best fixtures he's had in a while. Reaper says he hopes everyone gets red arrows. Cash or Baldock, I'd probably just go Cash, honestly. I mean, Sheffield United are a pretty horrendous team. Cash to Gabriel for -4. I don't think that's worth it. Have to put you guys in timeout though. Sorry. Start Taylor Matoma. I'd probably start Matoma still. Trippier's data has been good. His data has been good, but what's your point there? People have bad fixtures and good fixtures in FPL. So when he was, for example, versus Wolves, I think his underlying stats were something like 0.45 expected assists per game. Now it's something like 0.33 or 0.35. So clearly it's dropped a little bit. And part of that is because over a bad fixture run of games, Trippier is going to be a slightly worse option. And the reality is he did jump from 6.5 million to 7.0 million. So that's a lot of price rises. And when the fixtures aren't perfectly good for Trippier, there's no reason to, for example, spend that much money in the defensive positions, particularly when sometimes when you rotate between two options, for example, two 4.5 defenders, you could actually get similar value to someone who, like Trippier, has bad, like slightly worse fixtures, if that makes sense. Try not to spam the chat too much, guys. I think Cash isn't one of the best options. I would probably go Guecki in that instance. Start Taylor Matoma. I'd probably still start Matoma just because attacking upside. Cash, Alvarez, or Trippier, definitely just play Alvarez in that situation. I don't think Cash should even come into the question. Selling Trippier at 6.6 million. Yeah, fair enough. I sold him at 7.0, I think. Why not Captain Salah? I just think Spurs are such a bad defensive team. It's a good chance for me to go for a Holland captaincy. Why not Captain Salah? Answer the question already. Play Archer or Taylor. I'd play Taylor. 40% clean sheet odds versus the worst attack in Premier League history. Sheffield United home. Why not? Start Anderson or Cash. Is this Anderson from Crystal Palace? He's actually spelled Anderson, was like S-E-N, but I'd probably still start Anderson in that situation. What's the upside for going Darwin over Isaac for you? Fixtures for me are still better for Darwin, so that's the upside for me. Is Martinelli starting? I can't confirm that, sorry. 1 minute left, guys. Please make your transfers. I'd probably start the attacker over Cash in a lot of instances. I think Cash is firmly going to be in the back of my bench. Well, obviously I've got Porro at the back of my bench, but you can see Cash is also on the back of my bench anyways. So yeah, that's it. And obviously make your moves for the deadline. Should I start Lascelles or Zinchenko -4? I don't think it's worth a -4, so I would just start Lascelles. All right, that's the deadline, guys. So that is it. We have the game updating. Do you guys think Kelleher? I don't think Kelleher is worth a -4 because, I mean, how often does a keeper, for example, outscore the -4? It's pretty tough. It only really happens when there's a double game week, right? So I think double game week -4s make sense, but for a single game week, not too much. Best bone replacement if you have Mbeumo Palmer. In the future, I think now that we're obviously in game week 15 territory, I'd probably say Hwang. But I'm also gonna end the stream a little bit early here now, guys, because obviously I'm gonna get started with my weekend. I hope you guys have a lovely weekend. Have some great time. To sit back. We've got a lot of Premier League fixtures for the next week. I'm going to try my best to do the team sheet and the cheat sheet for every single game week here for the coming week, but it's obviously very tough. So no preview right now. You're going to Madrid in January. Enjoy, Soldier Boy. Hope you really enjoy the experience. Will you be able to catch a Real Madrid game? Did Watkins to Darwin for a hit with 2 minutes ago. Ooh, nice nuclear atoms. But yeah, take care, guys. Hope you guys have green arrows. Hope you enjoyed the moves. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. We will obviously try to get to 20,000 subscribers before the end of this year. That would be awesome. Thank you so much, Anmol, for the really kind advice, or words rather, sorry. Thank you so much, Eros. Thank you, Soldier Boy. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Nuclear Atoms. Thank you, Canan. the app froze when you were going to do Darwin for -4. Maybe the hit saved was actually good for you. As I said, I don't think with the information that we have, maybe going for a hit for Darwin might not be the best idea, but sometimes you can't know. You sometimes have to just make that decision. And it comes down to that. So thanks again for everyone, and I'll see you guys the next time. Take care. Goodbye.